On my first day as a substitute teacher, the principal said, "Don't bother learning their names. They're all getting shipped out anyway." I stood outside the classroom holding my lesson plans. I was confused by what the principal meant. She explained to me this was a class for 12 8th grade students who'd been kicked out of school. Some were waiting to go to juvie or military school. The class was just to keep them busy until their paperwork was done in about 6 weeks. She gave me a folder about the bad stuff they'd done. She said most teachers didn't want to teach this class. Just keep them quiet and don't let them fight, she told me. Then she left. I looked through the window at these kids sitting at their desks, staring at nothing. I decided I wasn't going to just babysit them. When I walked in and said my name, they barely looked at me. I asked them to tell me one thing they were good at. MJ said he liked drawing buildings. Tessa said she used to be good at math, so I started teaching them for real. I brought art stuff from home for MJ. I gave Tessa harder math work. I got books from the library for the others. I stayed after school every day to help with homework. I learned their stories and what made them laugh. When the principal questioned why I was wasting resources on temporary students, I told her 6 weeks was enough time to make a difference if someone actually tried. As time went on, MJ covered an entire wall with sketches of bridges and buildings. Other students watched him work, and a few came up to him. "Can you teach me how to do that?" one asked. MJ smiled and started showing them perspective. I pulled up a chair. "MJ, this is really good. Have you thought about architecture?" He shrugged, but I could tell he liked hearing it. Tessa began tutoring 3 other kids in math. I'd hear her say, "No, you got this. Try it again." Devin finished 4 novels and started writing his own stories. Every Friday he'd read them aloud, and I'd say, "That twist was incredible. Keep going." They showed up early to class. They helped each other. One day Tessa raised her hand. "Miss, can I still go to college after this?" My throat got tight. "Yes, absolutely yes." Another kid asked, "What if we mess up again?" I looked at all of them. "Then you try again. That's what people do. You're not your worst day." Devin said quietly, "No one ever said that to us before." I could see a few of them trying not to cry. One morning, I found a thank you card on my desk with drawings and messages about how this was the first time someone saw them as more than problems. I cried reading it. The principal seemed shocked they were engaged. Parents who'd stopped caring started getting calls about improvement. For 5 weeks, I watched these kids become the best class I'd ever taught. I started researching appeals to help them. Then on Friday afternoon, I walked in after lunch and found the classroom completely empty. Every desk was vacant. My heart dropped. I checked the hallway, but it was silent. I went to the office. "Where are my students?" The secretary looked at me sadly. "They were all transferred out this morning. Didn't anyone tell you?" I just stood there. "No, no one told me." I start screaming. I demand to know why my kids were taken 2 weeks early without anyone informing me. The principal came out of her office looking uncomfortable and explained that the district had suddenly found spaces available at the facilities and moved everyone in order to free up the classroom. "A private school needs to rent the room for testing," she said flatly. I asked where they sent my students, and she handed me a transfer sheet. 7 went to a juvenile facility. The remaining 5 went to military school placements. I stared at the addresses, realizing these places were hours away. "They were doing so well, though," I said. "Some of them were improving enough to appeal." The principal looked at me with an expression I couldn't read and said, "The appeals were denied weeks ago. We just didn't tell them yet." My hands started shaking holding that paper. Why would they deny appeals for kids who were clearly turning things around? Why rush them out 2 weeks early? Why not let me say goodbye? The secretary whispered something to the principal, and the principal's face changed to something almost guilty. I spent my entire weekend tracking down those facilities and calling every number I could find. By Monday, I learned that 4 of my students had their appeals denied because the district never submitted the documentation I'd been sending the principal. She'd been throwing it away. The nonprofit I contacted got involved, and within 3 weeks, 6 of my 12 students were brought back and placed in different programs. I managed to get MJ into a technical high school, I hope studying architecture. Tessa's in an advanced program, probably going to be smarter than me in a few years. I plan to find every single last kid and find them a new school, and after that, on to the next class, I guess.